Kia ora everyone, welcome to Recycling Week 2022. Just wait for a few more people to dial in. Afternoon everyone, we'll just give people a few more minutes to come into the chat, come online. Welcome everyone to Recycling Week 2022. Just watching the clock and maybe just 30 seconds or so, we'll see who else is going to come on board. All right, I think it's about time to get started. Kia ora koutou, welcome along to Recycling Week 2022. It's our Recycling Week webinar series brought to you by Reclaim. My name's David Klein. I'm a Senior Sustainability Communicator at thinkstep-anz. And thinkstep are very pleased to be the webinar partners, powering this week's webinar series. Thank you so much for joining us. If you don't know about thinkstep, just a quick little pitch. We are sustainability specialists. We have offices in Australia and New Zealand. Been working on this stuff for the past 15 or so years. And we do a lot of work in terms of sustainability strategy, carbon footprinting, packaging and product design, and the circular economy, which I think we're going to be touching on a little today and has come up this week. Our theme for today, it's Reflection Friday. It's the last business day of Recycling Week. We'll be reflecting on what we've learned and make more commitments to minimize waste in our lives, at home, at school, at work. There's so many ways that we can improve or do things differently. One of our speakers, Nat from Reclaim, might talk a little bit about Spring Clean Weekend as well, which is coming up in the next few days. So a touch of housekeeping. Thank you for attending. This is a Zoom webinar and you'll be in listen only mode. So that'll help with the recording quality, especially the audio. We'd love though for your feedback and your questions. If you could please do that through the Q&A button down the bottom of your screen. That will be recorded. So if we run out of time to answer your question, we'll be able to get back to you. Please don't use the chat function. That won't be recorded and we won't remember what you say. This recording is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Reclaim YouTube channel. So if you need to pop out or you'd like to share it with a friend or colleague, you can definitely do that. They should be online probably later today. Right, a quick intro to our great guests and speakers. Up first, we've got Jeff from Upparel. They work on commercial textile recovery and recycling. We'll be having a virtual presentation from Jamie from Junk2Go. He was unable to attend due to a family emergency, but did make a recording for us, which is fantastic and really appreciated. Junk2Go remove waste and repurpose resources for the local community. Also got Critical with their co-founder Roy. Critical turn hard to recycle plastics into beautiful durable panels for building fit outs and other products. And then our fourth and final speaker, last but not least, is Nat, the sustainability manager from Reclaim. Reclaim are experts in recycling and waste minimization. All right, so I'm going to hand the digital reins over to Jeff, who is up first from Upparel.
Thanks, David. Kia ora and hello, everybody. My name's Jeff Follebrecht. I'm the New Zealand director of Upparel. The Upparel started off as a I guess, a very, hang on, let me just, give me 1 second, just sharing the screen here. Upparel start off as a very simple take-back scheme on socks, and it just was an online sock business take-back scheme that started by just bringing back old socks and just trying to divert them from landfill. And that was a couple of years ago, and within 4 months they returned 16,000 kilos of socks. Led to a discussion about, hey, this is a much larger problem than just socks, and they're getting a lot of inquiries about, hey, can we send you shirts and jeans, etc. So that started the apparel business, and that was just 4 short years ago. 2 years ago we rebranded to Upparel, and I'm really happy to be launching Upparel in New Zealand. And basically Upparel is really just about just taking old textiles, diverting from landfill and bringing them back, and we treat waste as a resource. So we see that we can bring it back into the economy with greater value. So let me give you a little bit of a discussion about why we do what we're doing, and really the primary objective was diverting textile waste from landfill. Every year we send about 175,000 tonne of textile waste to landfill. That's, and you can break it down like there's some figures there: 3 tonne every 10 minutes. That's 34 kilos per person. We're pretty high comparatively. I think Australia is something like 27 kilos per person per annum. So it's quite a significant issue in textile waste. And New Zealand recycling industry doesn't have an answer for multi-textile collection. There's been some operations in the past where you can recycle natural products, natural fibers, which have a multitude of end-use applications, but with the propensity for polycottons and high-vis and uniforms and blends of products with natural and non-natural blends, there really need to be an answer for bringing all this back and converting that into into another product. And as we see, when fabrics go to landfill, they slowly decompose, especially natural fibers. I mean, there's a lot of science around it, but natural fibers decompose relatively quickly, but a lot of the blends can sit in landfill for a very, very long time. So we're looking to find uses for those textile waste. This is an old garment, and I apologise about the maths. I mean, all the mathematicians out there are probably going to go say that's not 25% on that pie. But really, so 75% of textiles that are purchased are sent to landfill, end up in landfill. 25% get back reused or repurposed. The majority of that is reused, and that's through through reselling, passing on, handing down, etc. The interesting thing is what's on the outside of that. 100%, almost 100% can be reused and upcycled. And that's where we want to try and make a difference as Upparel. So like I say, what are we? We're all about diverting all textile waste from landfill. So anything we always say, if the truck's turning left to go to the landfill, mate, it can just turn right and come to us. We'll find a use for it. Even for products that we receive, and there's a few, right, from time to time that we don't have a purpose for. Our attitude is that businesses like Upparel and Critical weren't around a couple of years ago, right? So there will be an answer soon. So we've got a small corner in our place for products that we don't have an answer for today, but we will find a solution for them in the coming years. No textiles, fabrics, or garments that enter the Upparel premises will see landfill in New Zealand or overseas. Everything stays within the Upparel environment. And that's our commitment. So once we collect textiles, so when products come in, our first sort is, can it be reused or does it need to be repurposed? The reusing part is, we work with charities around the country. Work very closely with our good friends at All Heart New Zealand, who work with charities, a lot of charities around the country, Dress for Success, and a number of others, where we receive garments and some uniforms, etc., that don't have brands on them, and we donate those to charity. That's our first sort. The second part of it is repurpose. If a product needs to be repurposed, we put that into a sort where we get the hardware, non-hardware. The hardware gets removed, all the zips, all the buttons get removed, and they get sent to repurposing businesses. And the fabric and textiles go through a repurposing process. Excuse me. So really about trying to create sustainable products from traditional textile waste items. So one of our I guess slogans is that waste is not waste until we waste it. Our process upcycles textile waste, converting what would be deemed waste into a resource. And it's really just about replacing products that are made one time for a single purpose, often made of petro-based products, such as this beautiful product here, which is just a polyfill. It's a hobby fill. You'll see it at most hobby stores, and it probably fills every one of your decorative cushions around your house. This is made for one purpose. It's made one time from virgin material, and then it sits in landfill for many, many years. We replace this with our shredded fiber. This happens to be cotton, denim cotton, but that's a shredded fiber that can directly replace that. And at the end of its life, this can't really be recycled, but this can be. And this is the product that can come back to us again at the end of its life and be recycled again into a range of other products. So that's, we convert into homewares, but we can also convert into foam and cushioning products. The building construction industry, but also the furniture industry. I've said this a few times, but one of our great stories is the Boeing company in Australia supply us all the uniforms. And then they're now talking to us about their airline seats, because they want to replace the foam in that with the shredded textiles. So there's some pretty cool stories there, and there's some wall paneling and insulation there, soundproofing, etc., out of these panels also. And this is all what would have been a landfill come through our process. There's a lot of people ask us, how can we get involved? Currently in New Zealand, in Australia, they have a consumer model where consumers can really get involved via their brands and via apparel. Today in New Zealand, we're a B2B operation, but we will be bringing the consumer reach part of that business to New Zealand in the near future. But currently we have, I guess there's probably two primary ways where product can come back to us. The first one is obviously the shipper's choice. So goods are packed by the organisation, the company, the business, and are just sent to us in boxes, bags, pallets. We don't care. If it was destined for landfill and it comes to us, we're happy. And it's textile waste, we're happy. So so that all comes to us. And then the other one is we've just launched in New Zealand a bin program where you can locate a bin at your premises. The bin is collected each month. It's a simple, very inexpensive rental scheme where we collect the bin once a month. You fill it full of scraps, cuts and trims from garment manufacturers, old uniforms, old PPE, if some companies like to get their companies involved, their staff involved. A lot of HR people have that staff engagement aspect and get their staff involved in some programs to bring their products back as well. And we collect those once a month and bring it back to us and handle them from there. So it's quite simple. We try to make it as simple as possible. Also, if anybody's got any questions, they're quite welcome to sort of just email us at Upparel, jeff@upparel.nz. Now, each of our customers receives at the end of each quarter an impact statement, just explaining what they've sent us over the quarter and the impact they've made and the CO2 emissions they've prevented over that period of time. So that's quite nice for showing stakeholders, but also it's good to see the impact that an organisation's made over a period of time. So I guess so Upparel's been going in Australia for just on 2 years. We just celebrated our 2 years this week, actually. We've been just under a year in New Zealand. But in that time, in that 2 years, we've saved over 6 million items from landfill, 6 million items of clothing. It's been significant. It's about 9,600 965,000 kilos of textile waste that we've collected over that period of time. And we've had about 2 million items donated to charities. It's really taken off. It's really heartening to see how it's just taken off in a relatively short time, and that people are getting really involved with looking at textile waste. It's really just a simple thing. If you've got items that you can reuse or repair, we encourage that. We like to be the last resort. And if it's going to landfill, we'll take it on board because we can turn it into something. I think this is a quick little graphic, and I know I'm short for time. I hope I'm not running over time, but it just shows you that we're just really scratching the scratch. And apparel in 2 years has done 965,000 kilos. The problem in Australia alone, right, is 800 million kilos each year is discarded, textiles discarded into landfill. So, like I say, while we'll make an impact and very proud of what we're doing, there's still a lot of work to be done. And like I say, we're just really scratching the surface of what's being done in textile waste. So that's it for now. I'll say thank you now, and I'll pass on to David. Thanks, David.
Yes, Jeff. Great presentation. Some pretty unreal numbers. Really great to see how you're growing, though. Yeah, I like that. Waste as a resource thinking is really important, and I really loved your little demonstrations of the stuff you've got on hand.
Yeah, thank you, Dave.
So up next, we've got Jamie from Junk2Go. As I mentioned, he couldn't be here in person today. Unfortunately, he's had to attend to a family emergency, but incredibly was able to put together a pre-recorded video. So if you have any questions for Jamie, he gives his contact details. Equally though, myself or Nat or some of the other speakers could possibly have a go at answering. So do ask the question if you'd like to.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Jamie. I am the Sustainability and Corporate Relationship Manager for Junk2Go. On behalf of Junk2Go, we're really excited to be part of Recycling Week on Reflection Friday, having a chat to you guys about the Spring Clean weekend. So a little bit about Junk2Go. Junk2Go is an Auckland-based service to remove unwanted items from around your home or around your business. It's a fast and efficient way of getting rid of things that you don't really want hanging around. Part of our service is recycling or repurposing where we can. The main items that we deal with on a daily basis are your more complex waste streams. For example, things like e-waste and composite items made up of more than one waste stream. A really good example of this would be your furniture, your beds, your bookshelves and things like that. One of our core values is love the environment. For us, what this means is together we can make a big difference to the environment in our communities by repurposing/recycling and diverting items from landfill. Being that it's one of our core values, this is really important to us, and it's something that we run our business off. Looking at our waste streams, we were able to identify that a lot of the things that we were removing as junk were actually in excellent condition. We looked around and thought, what can we do with these, fantastic items instead of them going straight to landfill? One piece that we've been working on quite a bit is around repurposing for the community. So a little bit about the process without going into the IP too much. When our teams identify an item that is able to benefit the community, the item's checked over, made sure that it's going to be something that benefits the community. We don't want to be burdening people in need with rubbish, with junk, with things that should be going in the landfill. We work with our local communities to find people in need that need these items. So whether they be couches, beds, there is a million and one things that the community can really benefit from. When we're able to match one with the other, we provide it to those in need free of charge. On a weekly basis, we would help anywhere between 10 to 30 families with really essential items, things as simple as beds, pots, pans, you name it, we've been able to provide families with it. An awesome example would be we're able to provide a mini tramp for a young lady that was having issues at school, keeping attention. She uses this mini trampoline to sort of get up some of her pent up frustrations, and then she's able to focus on the lesson. Items that are not in fairly good condition. So, for example, bookshelves that are broken, drawers that are broken, etc. We break those up into their individual waste streams and recycle them. A bookshelf, for example, we'd break that up and it would go into a recycling stream. Is our current setup perfect? Absolutely not. I personally don't think it should be. If we're repurposing recycling at 100% efficiency, it would tell me that we are giving things away that probably shouldn't be, or giving things away that would be less than ideal or not benefiting the community, just to make a KPI. There are items that we receive that cannot be salvaged for various reasons, and these need to go to landfill, unfortunately. For the spring clean weekend, a couple of areas that I wanted to cover off. When you're getting rid of your excess items, please use simple tools like the waste hierarchy. All through recycling week, we've been looking at various ways of reducing the amount of waste that we are sending to landfill. Probably one of the most important ones is procurement, making sure that when we buy something, do we actually need it before we buy it? I know that's a really hard one for consumerism. I've been very guilty of this, buying things that I probably don't need. However, making sure that we do actually need those items. The next step would be, if I do decide to purchase this, before purchasing it, making sure that you're able to repurpose or recycle. You've got an exit strategy when the day comes when you need to pass that on. So that might be a case of looking at it, going, hey, do I buy something higher quality that's going to last for longer? Am I able to recycle this currently in New Zealand? I will use a bookshelf as a bit of an example. Going out buying the cheapest, nastiest bookshelf that you can find is probably not the best way to go about it, purely for the fact that your repurposing and your recycling streams will not adapt for that particular piece of furniture, assuming that it is made out of the finest MDF that money can buy. In 2 years, 5 years, whatever the timeline may be, that furniture will not be in a state where you're able to repurpose. Would it be worthwhile to go a high quality piece of furniture made of solid timber? Absolutely. It's something that you would be able to pass on within your family. The solid timber pieces of furniture come through all the time. We're able to give this off to families in need, replacing what they would normally get, which would be the cheap and nasty bookshelf. When you're looking at repurposing at the end of life, make sure the people that you're repurposing it to actually want this stuff. Going off to donate it to your local charity shop, whatever that may be, just make sure that the guys that are accepting it do actually want this equipment. Once again, I pick on MDF, which is a bit easy. This is often, I've heard it referred to as a lot of things. One of the nicer names that I have heard it referred to is Weet-Bix. As soon as the stuff gets wet, it crumbles, it falls apart. Once again, I'm picking on residential, but corporate are also just as guilty of this one. MDF desk, for example, is the bane of everyone's existence, trying to repurpose or get rid of these items outside a landfill is incredibly difficult. So for the spring clean weekend, just please take it upon yourself to make sure that these items are actually going to be going to another place. Having worked closely with the charity stores, I'm able to tell you that out of the 10 items that they receive, 7 of them end up in landfill, which I don't think anyone is overly shocked at. What we've got to remember with the charity stores is that the items that they receive are treated as a commodity. These will be sold to fundraise for the awesome work that these stores do, or fund, or work towards. Parting thoughts on charity stores would be, when you're giving items to a charity store, think of it as a gift would I gift this to a loved one, a parent, a partner, a child, instead of using them as an indirect landfill, because they do still end up in landfill, and it ends up costing that organisation having to get rid of that in landfill. They are not able to sell it. So that's me. I've got a couple of commonly asked questions that I get. Hard materials to recycle, obviously, as I just said, flat pack, MDF items, coffee tables, office desks, the finest MDF bookshelves. It doesn't look like there is going to be a recycling / repurpose method for this anytime soon. Find an alternative. There are a few out there, but yeah, MDF, it's cheap. I understand that from a procurement point of view, but you're not including the effects that it has down the road. Another one I get is, I have a nice piece of furniture, it just needs to be sanded and painted. Giving these to charity stores, they're not going to necessarily sand and paint it. There aren't too many people around that do. My recommendation, if you're not going to do it yourself, would be to have a chat to your charity store and see if they will still accept it in that condition. Once again, these items are treated as a commodity. Please understand that it's not them being rude or not wanting your stuff. They need to be able to resell these items going forward. If you would like to get in contact with us to help with any items that you might have that need to get rid of in the Auckland area, please email talk to us at Junk2Go, the number 2, .co.nz. My email is Jamie, so JAMIE at Junk2Go.co.nz. Outside of Auckland, I'm still knowledgeable about the waste streams around New Zealand, where and what happens to most items. So you're more than happy to email and answer any questions about that. I would recommend having a chat to your local charity store, your local community, and seeing what you're able to help the community with, rather than treating the community as a bit of a landfill. It is really exciting to be a part of Recycling Week. This is my first presentation. I'd like to thank Reclaim for reaching out and having a chat to us about this. And yeah, any questions, just give me a call. Sorry, I can't be there in person and do this live. However, please get in contact. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jamie. As I mentioned, Jamie couldn't be here, but thanks so much to him for putting that video together. Apologies if you weren't able to hear the audio on that. I'm unsure what was happening. Some of us could, some of us couldn't. So I'm really sorry if you missed out in that case. The audio from Jamie's presentation will definitely be in the recording, which we'll upload to YouTube after this. So it's well worth checking out. I think he makes some really good points about thinking about the material or the products that you buy, what's going to happen at the end. Don't just give things to a charity store because they're not a landfill. But that is where those things could ultimately end up. Right, next up, I'm going to pass over to Rui from Critical. Take it away.
Kia ora, kia ora. I'm just going to give 1 second to set this up. Okay. Awesome. Can you guys see this okay? Thumbs up. Beautiful. Te whare atu nei tēnā koe. I ngā maunga, ngā awa, ngā whenua, te moana I takatōna I tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Reiping toku ingoa, ko Manchu Raua, ko Hana Oku Iwi, ko Critical takumahi, tēnā koutou katoa. So kia ora, I'm one of the co-founders at Critical, and we are a technology-enabled green product startup that transform plastic waste to beautiful, durable, and endlessly recyclable panels for building fit-outs and products. Okay, I'm going to push the next button. As a Māori business, we exist to uplift the mauri of Taiao. Our health and well-being is dependent on the well-being of our natural world, and you don't need to be Māori to feel this yourselves. Therefore, when the wide order with the well-being of our land, rivers, and oceans are affected, it affects us all. We started Critical because we want to be good tipunga, or ancestors, so that generations beyond us can thrive for thousands of years to come. I want to actually share with you a story to start off that's actually pretty crack up. In 1894, the Times once predicted that every street in London will be buried under 9 feet of manure. The problem was horse waste. The International Urban Planning Commission at the time couldn't find a solution, and it seemed that urban civilization was doomed to drown in horse waste. I mean, it's funny now, but back in the day, it was a real problem, a real issue. Today, the world produces nearly 1,000 tons of plastics each year, and only 9% is recycled. Every bit of plastics ever created still exists today. Our plastics problem feels a bit like horseshit, doesn't it? In New Zealand, businesses are responsible for over about 83% of all plastics in landfill, and construction is the single biggest culprit. But we as customers, investors, and employees are putting pressure on big brands to take ownership, which is why they have made plastic public zero commitments, or zero waste commitments, for the coming decade and beyond. And so, in line with this, Critical has built the product range and the technology platform to transform almost all 24 plastic types into our first product, the Critical Cleanstone, our range of beautiful and durable 100% recycled plastic panels for building fit-outs. It is the eco-disruptor to the near $1 trillion global timber and fiberboard market, including MDF, which is what we want to replace. Now, there are over 24 plastic types, and most countries can only recycle about 4 to 5 out of the 24 types, which is also probably why that we import 400,000 tons of virgin plastics a year made out of oil, and we throw into landfill approximately 330,000 tons. It is absolutely insane. So we spent the last 4 years bootstrapping the development of some proprietary hardware from a technology lab we took over and adapted in an intermediate school. We have since then launched our pilot plant by the airport in Tāmaki, survived a literal tornado, and relaunched our ready-to-scale solution. Our Unibond technology turns contaminated plastic waste that there is no solution for into panels that can take a beating while offsetting approximately 1.4 tons of carbon for every ton of plastics you recycle, if what you're replacing is made out of an acrylic or a plastic material. We can then endlessly customize the material look and feel to create unique brand stories or to ensure that our panels will never go out of fashion. And at the end of life, we buy back our panels and recycle them into new Cleanstone over and over and over again, creating a fully circular solution for the building industry. And our plan is Critical is to scale our products globally by putting our technology, the Critical Microfactory, into every city in the world. Some quick few examples. Kōkako, a really awesome, everyone knows Kōkako, everyone loves Kōkako. They opened a commercial bay bar and cafe, and they used our panels to clad their surface. And it was approximately about 8,000 bits of plastics and bottles, be turned into the panels used for their fit out. So if you go to Commercial Bay and you're grabbing a coffee, you guys should go check them out. Torpedo 7, so owned by the Warehouse Group, they phased out about 50,000 plastic bags, and we turned them into these beautiful Cleanstone panels with literally made out of 100% of their plastic bags that they then used to fit out their retail store in Torpedo 7 in Newmarket. Counters, retail fixtures, walls, decorative panels, signage, any of these sort of materials and feature materials in their store made out of their plastic waste. Another cool example happening right now is that if you happen to take your whānau over to Motat, you'll see they have a switch up exhibit celebrating the circular economy. So they used our panels to create the exhibition space, as well as to create a little booth for us as well, using the plastic waste that they have. So go take your whānau over there. I think I might be able to get you some hookups for free tickets. I didn't get them for free, which is a bunch of sad guys, eh? And one last example I want to share with you guys is Manurewa High School. So they wanted to create a welcoming space, so they used our Cleanstone panels to clad their reception space. And Manurewa High School have a pepeha, which is they're situated between the two maunga, the Puhinui Awa and the waka, which is kind of like the counter sitting in the middle. So we turned the black and white piha panel is actually it's a construction tubing plastic. The green, I'll call that the Critical Pounamu panel, is made from fish nets. The white is the speckled, is made from post-consumer plastic waste. Mixed soft plastics and hard plastics. And then the blue is actually made from soft plastics, but also Fisher and Paykel Healthcare sort of waste to create kind of this like moana kind of ripple effect of a panel of a look. And in 2019, we actually hosted Prince Charles, who visited us. And we turned fishnets into our pounamu, and we had a Māori carver who shaped it, or Māori trained carver who shaped it into tuki and a tuki potangata so that he can weld his mana as he champions for sustainability initiatives. Now, when he came around, we set up a station where I got him to get his hands dirty to make products for us. And I said to him, mate, you know, like, you're pretty good at this, eh? If you ever are wanting a job, I mean, we've got a technician role open up if you're keen. And yeah, he still haven't got back to me, eh? Sad guy. Plastic waste offer a range of perks in cleanstone form, and we are flipping the script by turning an environmental problem into product advantages. So if we factor in the total cost of ownership, namely as near indestructibility, zero water reactivity, zero to low maintenance, the ease of install, and its ability to last near a lifetime compared to even cheap MDF, our cleanstone panels is the more affordable option at year 5, sorry. And it is not to mention its novel and design aesthetic advantages, even at the current premium prices that we're selling them, the retail prices we're selling them at the moment. Often when we think about the circular economy, we don't fully consider the economy side of the circular economy, which is probably why in the past, our recycling infrastructure, it's in this sort of this pressure point where plastics are taken and processed, but we don't exactly know where we're going to sell it to, which is why we're probably shipping overseas, and we don't exactly know where it ends up. And so it's important that if we are going to create a solution, the market needs to be big enough so that we can add value to change that product, that waste, into a valuable solution or offering. And the market size for timber fiberboard-based panels in Aotearoa alone is $1.7 billion. And by 2025, that market is expected to grow to near $1 trillion globally. So construction is a great economy for us to be able to divert and close the loop using a massive issue, which is plastic waste. So we found it critical with the goal of building an enduring company that exists to manaki, care for people in our land. I obsess over products and training, by training, and I help lead sort of big commercial brands and ministries to innovate products and services at EY as sort of my other role. Adam is of Ngāti Raukawa and Ngāti Kahungunu Whakapapa. And for 17 years, he's led sort of large and startup brands to success. And he was the CFO at Saatchi & Saatchi. So for us as a team, the mahi is our purpose, it's our kaupapa. We don't do this because it's our job. We do it because we want to see our tamariki thrive, and we want them to be proud of us. And that's what gets us out of bed. For a very cheeky plug, we believe we are a groundbreaking business that can dramatically reduce the damage plastic waste has on our environments through repurposing the hard-to-recycle plastics into both useful and beautiful products. To make this happen, we actually need your support to join our crowd investment round, which will enable us to 8 times the amount of hard-to-recycle plastic waste we can process from 100 tons to 800 tons per year. We'll also be able to secure the certification and the rubber stamps, which will make it easier for us to sell our panels and products to a wider range of uses. And it will also enable us to move to a next-gen tech development to design and develop our microfactory technology that we can make it easy for communities anywhere in the world to convert hard-to-recycle plastic waste into a range of useful materials. It took only 12 years, the length of investment cycle, to solve the great horse manure crisis of 1894. We are looking for everyday investors who care about the environment and great products to join our seed investment round before this shit hits the fan. Nō reira e hoa mā. Nau mai, haere mai. Whakaikia ki te waka I te reakia nei. Kia ora. And that's me.
Kia ora, Rory. Great presentation. I've shared the critical website in the chat if you want to check that out and consider investing as well. I'm looking forward to touching on some of the critical circular economy discussion later on. Looks like you're doing really, really brilliant work. Our last speaker for Recycling Week 2022 is, of course, Nat from Reclaim. She's a sustainability manager, and she can tell you all about it.
Thank you, David. What an absolute honor to be following these guys today. I am absolutely blown away. I've already known some of your businesses, but hearing you guys speak so passionately about it and obviously looking at the work you're doing is absolutely impressive. For those of you guys that are just tuning in today, you haven't seen me before, I am Natalia, Nat for short, and I am the Sustainability Manager at Reclaim. And I have been very proudly leading Recycling Week across all the channels and running this webinar series with ThinkStep and also alongside all these amazing speakers. Now, today, my aim is obviously to close off the webinar series and to actually talk a little bit more about why we are doing Recycling Week, why is it so important, and actually get you thinking, hopefully as a last appeal as to why Recycling Week is really important and how you can actually continue carrying on the message that we're trying to cover throughout the week, every day for the rest of your lives. So a little bit about Reclaim. My slide goes next. Reclaim is very serious about recycling. We have no affiliation to landfill. So our processes are set out to really capture recycling and look for recycling in waste opportunities. Now, we are one of New Zealand's largest privately owned suppliers of recyclables. We have a whole fleet that collects different materials across Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch. We process it and then we actually send it off to a good home in terms of being recycled. And alongside of that, a lot of the stuff that I do in the sustainability space is actually working with clients and non-clients on identifying opportunities on waste minimization. And I guess that's a little bit where Recycling Week comes in, is through waste audits, through education, through knowledge, we collectively can actually improve our waste, whether it is professionally, in your schools, in your homes, within your communities. And our aim is to actually, as active participants of New Zealand's circular economy, we want to bring in more businesses and more people to this circular economy environment. And Recycling Week is very much where that kind of falls in. So the aim of Recycling Week is to look at the waste minimization hierarchy. Now, Recycling Week talks about recycling a lot, and obviously that's where the focus feels like it is. But if you've been paying attention to what we've been covering every day, you might notice a little bit of a pattern. If you've been doing our daily quizzes, you would have seen this image before. This is the waste minimization hierarchy. Jamie mentioned that everyone kind of touches on it. It's essentially what to do with waste. And as you can see, the least preferred is the dispose at the bottom, which is landfill. And we know that that's not where we want things ending up. But as you can see, recycling is not at the top. Recycling is in the middle. So before recycling, there's a lot of different steps that we all need to take where recycling becomes the last resort, with the most obvious one being avoid. Now, if you are still unsure as to why is she talking about this when it comes to Recycling Week, if you can see, our daily focuses nicely line up with what the waste minimization hierarchy is asking us to do. So for the past 4 days, we've been getting you guys to think about waste in a different way and breaking it down in nice digestible chunks of how to actually get thinking about our waste, what opportunities are there, and how we can actually make it better. So today's aim and tomorrow's is to reflect on the areas that we have struggled with this week, or areas where we have learnt from, and what is the next step. So essentially tomorrow's focus is on acting. So today we take the time to reflect, see what areas we really struggled with, where the opportunities are, and tomorrow we make a plan and we get it done. So what to do with your waste. Now, hopefully as you've been engaging with the different daily focuses, you've been actually thinking, and you might have struggled with some areas more so than others. So avoiding could be very hard. So you might look at that as your main opportunity. And the main takeaway that we give out to our clients, but also as part of Recycling Week, is know your waste. And through Recycling Week, hopefully you are you're getting to know your waste. And whether it is through a waste audit that you get it done professionally, or whether it's something that you do yourself, you already have the tools to identify where your big opportunities are. And I'm talking low hanging fruit. I'm talking about your easy wins. So if you're someone that buys a coffee from a coffee shop 5 times a day, make sure that's a lot of coffee cups that you're sending to landfill. That's your big volume. That's your big win. That's your first step. Then you go into further on. And I think what both Jeff, Roy, and Jamie did a good point at highlighting today is that let's look beyond as well just your general mainstreams of recycling, which is your coffee cups, your plastic bottles, and look at other sides. Jamie really covered this really well, where he's like, procurement is really important. And that is the first step. So looking at the 4 daily focuses that we've had the past 4 days, this is the area, this is where action happens. This is what you need to focus on. So for instance, through procurement, that's what you purchase. Vote with your wallet, choose with your wallet, choose quality. I mean, I don't know how often Jamie reiterated that, you know, buy the quality stuff so you're not having to dispose of it in a couple of years, or when you do dispose, it is destined to landfill and it can't actually be recycled. Make choices that actually facilitate the recycling at the end or facilitate the disposal at the end. But we all know that the best waste strategy is no waste. So while recycling is great, because we saw how recycling is actually further up than landfill when it comes to the waste minimization hierarchy, it's still not the top option. So you still need to be still choosing items that aren't recyclable or that don't need recycling at all, because there's another purpose that can be endlessly reused, is the best solution. Phasing waste out is always the best alternative, which leads me to Reusable Wednesday. And it's going beyond just thinking about your coffee cups and your water bottles and your straws, and it's thinking about your furniture, it's thinking about reusability of models. Like, do you really need to buy every appliance known to man? Can you share with your neighbor? Can can we be part of a sharing economy? And we've learned so much this week through numerous different speakers on how we can bring these different focuses to life. And last but certainly not least, if you must find something that is unfortunately not going to last you a lifetime, that you find it in a way that it is in a recyclable format, and then you're doing everything that you can to actually minimize the chances of ending up in landfill. And whether it is how you process it, how you deal. So your clothes need to be clean and actually wearable before you give it to your charity shop. Same with your furniture, same with everything that you see now. No one wants someone else's rubbish. So with that, you've been equipped this week with thinking about all these different topics and all these different areas. And whether it is in your personal life, in your professional life, in your community, what you're thinking is the different ways that you can bring this to life beyond just today, beyond just this weekend, beyond actually make it the work of a lifetime. At Reclaim this year, what we've done for Recycling Week, we've each taken pledges of things that we can be better at. And we're only human, so all of us are in different journeys. And for some of us, it is still the coffee cups, but for others is bigger and more ambitious things like reducing being more sustainable about where we source our things from, phasing plastic out of our kitchens, phasing plastic out of our lives. And some of these are big challenges that are not going to be achieved in a single week. And that is a powerful way to actually get involved in Recycling Week ongoing, because you tell your friends and then they hold you accountable. You tell your family and they hold you accountable, and you actually share that knowledge further and further along. So my plea for the weekend for everyone that's participating in Recycling Week is take the time to think about what are the areas that you want to improve, and use the weekend to come up with a plan, whether it is looking through your own personal items at home and finding sustainable homes for them, or whether it is just how you're going to tackle this from a commercial or a work environment and start back on, actually, I'll give you Monday off, Labor Day, I'll give you Monday off, but you start back on Tuesday. So I just wanted to finish off and leave you with this note. So as today marks the last day for our webinar series and the last working day for Recycling Week, I don't want today to mark the end of Recycling Week, but the beginning of your waste minimization journey. Now, I've got this fun image on the right, and that is an analogy that we often use at Reclaim, which is it's a lot of recycling or a lot of sustainability solutions are the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. And for us to achieve a sustainable, better planet, long-term solution to a lot of the problems that we have when it comes to waste, we need more paramedics at the top. So make sure that the value or the pledges that you make, the commitments that you make are actually not just to find solutions so you can keep on jumping, but actually preventing people from falling down the cliff to start with. So I hope you've enjoyed Recycling Week. I hope you have enjoyed the webinar series. As David alluded to, all of these recordings are available online and will be available from today. And now I'll give it back to you, David, and we can go to the Q&A. Actually, I think I've got the Q&A slide just here, so we can just leave it here.
Wow, thank you so much. Too easy. Thanks, Nat. That was a great presentation, and yeah, I really liked it's thinking about what you can do, and it sounds simple, but it's a really powerful action. Thinking about what you're doing, things you can change. a couple of bits that I noticed and really enjoyed. On Procurement Monday, we had Nicole Sullivan, a colleague of mine from ThinkStep, and she said she has a personal vendetta against the word waste. And Jeff, I know you talked about waste as a resource, you know, just thinking about what are we doing with this, and that waste isn't waste until we decide it is. So I think reframing how we're thinking, getting innovative, making changes in our day-to-day lives are all really important steps we can make. I just wonder a question for each of you. Is there one big takeaway that you'd really like someone to remember from your presentation or from today? Maybe start with you, Jeff.
Yeah, hey, David. One takeaway, I think, I think, well, like I say, you touched on it just then, you know, waste is not waste until we waste it. It's, you know, I think looking at everything that, I mean, if I look at the operations we have and everything we receive, even down to the plastic tags, we get a lot of new items, new garments, even down to the plastic tags with the clothing, you know, that comes on brand new clothing. Some of those things, you know, we try and educate some of our partners and other ways to do things, and we see some best practice and we see some old-fashioned practice. So we do try and educate where we can, but everything has a purpose. Everything we receive, the soft plastic bags, you know, everything, we find a use and application for everything. Nothing goes to into the waste bin or down to landfill. So we try and do that. And I think one of the things I like was, and I'll just finish maybe with two things, but one thing was what Michael, our founder, has said previously, and what sort of got me interested is that his kids are going to grow up one day and say, "Hey, thanks, Mum and Dad, for this nice, privileged upbringing, but no thanks for screwing the planet." And it's, you know, we have that ability, we have that responsibility, but we have all these great innovators and these great ideas, and I think giving people like Tina and Michael Elias and like Rui and some other great organisations the voice, but also the backing of you know, of people today will really help to share that, you know, and to grow these businesses. And you know, wherever we can, just look out for opportunities to send waste. There was an old movie, and I'm a little bit older than some of the people here, but I saw a movie called Back to the Future when it first came out to the movie theaters, and there's a scene at the end of that where the Doc comes back from the future in his flying DeLorean, and he gets out of the car and he's talking to Marty, and he goes to the rubbish bin, and Marty says, "You know, Doc, what are you doing?" You know, and sorry, but apologies for the terrible accent. And he goes to the bin, he puts it in the DeLorean, he says, "You know, Marty, in the future, waste is our resource." And I think that's kind of what we're all about today. I think that's that's something that's, you know, that we're trying to do. And yeah, I think that this week's been fantastic, and thanks for Reclaim and Nat for organising this process. But I think yeah, no, I really enjoyed being part of it. So thank you. I think it's a long answer to a short question, so I hope it wasn't too.
Yeah, all good. Rui, any big takeaways?
Hi. One observation I often made is that, like, especially for people who are really passionate about sustainability, there is like a level of anxiety that we feel, you know, towards the future and how uncertain it is. And also, like, and sometimes if we don't be careful, that anxiety, it becomes anger, and we start antagonizing sort of people. And I think, like, I'm a firm believer that joy is the engine of the universe. If we look at successful social movements in the past, they have like systematically shifted our society. Like if you look at the Black Civil Rights Movement, or if you even look at like the movement over in South Africa where, like the end of apartheid, they're really great examples where, yes, there is disruption, but in a future we are inclusive, and in that future involves everyone. Like it's a bit hard for me to try and summarize this, but like I think I think it's about being kind to yourself and being kind to others, and understand that we're in it together. I think that's really important, eh? And I guess the other thing that I've also sort of met really amazing sustainable practitioners, yeah, who have sort of this particular view that, humans are the virus on this planet Earth. And I just find that is such a sad, yeah, it is such a sad worldview. And my mate, a few years ago when she was going through this, yeah, yeah, I mean, it's such a sad and it's a really sad worldview. And I am a firm optimist, and I'm a firm believer that we will find a way together, whether if it's through new technology or new ways of us organizing ourselves, but we will find a way. So yeah, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. And remember that if you have a job, you have a sphere of influence, and let's use that to bring people on the journey with us.
I'll probably just jump in and echo some of the stuff that they've said, David. I think what Rui covered in that anxiety, I think you're right in saying let's use that to fuel good action and you fuel actually progress. And I think Jeff also covered that in his presentation, where a few years ago we didn't have solutions that we have now. So there's definitely things in the pipeline, and it is through action. And I mean, the view that maybe the human race is the virus could be valid. There's arguments for that, but we're also the solution. So we're all we have. So we need to be collectively trying to do the best we can. So I think my takeaway message would be a short and sweet one of saying there's always something you can be doing better. You're never going to get to the top of the mountain when it comes to sustainability and better living. And we all share the same landfill. So we all benefit from what everyone else is doing. So if you can do one thing, then do that one thing, and then make that 2 and 3 as you kind of get onto it. So it's never a problem too big that you can't, tackle it. Just tackle it one day at a time.
Yeah, nice. I like that. I've had some nice feedback as well from Marjorie. Thanks for your kind words. And we've got a couple of questions. Tara had asked, and I guess this is maybe for both Critical and Upparel, both of your systems use waste products in different ways. Tara was just wondering if you look at kind of waste minimization generally, but also maybe I'm kind of wondering, Rui, about your story of the manure. Is there maybe a hypothetical future where we do have a waste-free future? How would that sort of impact what you guys do?
Yeah, Jeff, do you want to start answering that question, bro, and I'll follow it up?
Yeah, sure. And I think I tried to jump in there on that answer early when it came through for Tara. But yeah, it's a good question, and we sort of look at minimizing waste. We deal with a lot of garment manufacturers. We get a lot of cut waste, cuts, trims, and we also get a lot of we work with fashion schools and polytechs, etc. And just bringing them through, seeing what happens and what good ways to if they're going to make products, make them to last, try and make them from natural products, but also when you make them, try and use single types of particularly natural products if you can, because it just makes it so much easier at our end when it does come to us. And there'll always be waste. There'll always be stuff that comes to us for a purpose. So, but it just makes that whole process easier, and it prolongs the life of the garment, but actually brings it back into a more valuable resource at the end. So, yeah, just like I say, there's ways that we can educate the people that we come across and influence there. But yeah, I think that answers the question, David and Tara. I think that's yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, thanks.
I really like Natalia's answer on that, around like the fence at the top with the ambulance on the bottom. And I think the answer is we need to do both. I am really encouraged by the amount of like bio-based polymers that are coming out, made out of seaweed and stuff. And yeah, made out of seaweed or other bioorganic waste processes, or using bacteria to be able to process new polymers, like using mycelium. Like, they're really exciting stuff. And I think that as a system, we need to turn off the plastic tap. So we're not importing 400,000 tons every single year. It's a really crucial part of that future. That said, like every bit of plastics that we've ever created is going to be still somewhere in our ecosystem around. And this is probably for the period of the last 100 and 150 years of that. This is the cycle that we've kind of been going through, more so maybe in the last 50 years. And so there's still, I guess, a sense of duty or responsibility, a sense of sort of kaitiakitanga that we may have an obligation to the land to be able to restore that land. And I do believe that, yeah, there's just enough, there's already enough, 300,000 tons per year, 330,000 tons per year into our environment. It's enough material for generations over. And we have to also solve that at the same time. So we kind of have to come at two problems, you know, to meet in the middle. Critical's model is sort of like our circular economy model looks a bit like a koru as opposed to a full circle, because the koru starts with a waste that there's no solution for coming into the ecosystem, you know, single-use plastics, to then be turned into effectively a product that lasts at least 20 years to a lifetime. So that it then gets extended, and then when our products reaches the end of life, we reprocess that, and that life cycle continues over and over again. So it has an input of raw material, and then everything that we touch becomes raw material for us in a closed loop. And yeah, and we have considered in our sort of future, like, look, if we get rid of the plastics on the planet, like the world produces 300 million tons of plastics every single year, and 9% is recycled. Look, by any miracle, like that gets resolved, we'll feel like we've done our job. And what we will do is we'll just adapt our technology to be able to create bio-based alternative building panels and building materials on our side. So it is a future that we do see that a future is stop drilling oil and stop refining oil into plastics. We already have enough. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you, Roy. I think that's about time. We are going to wrap this up. Thank you for your questions. Thank you everyone for attending today. Special thank you to Jeff, Roy and Jamie for your great presentations. Of course, you as well, Nat, for your presentation and the rest of the huge amount of work you've done during Recycling Week. We'll have this recording online very soon, and we'll share it with you all. But for now, kia ora koutou. Have a great day.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.
Goodbye, Tora. Good to see you guys.
Bye. See you guys.